Vicky, how much do you think your brand's media visibility is worth? If
Okay,
somebody were to ask you, how much would you pay for brand visibility? How much would you say?
I think it's hard to give a figure, but it's worth.
This
Visibility
is a
is worth.
hypothetical situation, so you you can give a figure. I'm not going to ask you to spend that figure.
No, like if you see, brand visibility helps you to.
Give me a figure.
I can't really
Like
give a
somebody
figure.
told you, Vicky, how much would you spend in one ad for people to see you?
Um, no, it depends with the reach.
Ah, come on, now you're being too much of a marketer. I want you to be like a somebody has come to your business and told you, Vicky, you have all the money in the world. How much money are you willing to spend for 30 seconds for 120 million people to see you?
For 120 million people, of course, that is more than a million that you'll spend.
You're
You
not
see, also
working with
I'm a
me.
marketer, I have to use the realistic
That's the
metrics
problem.
first.
I wanted you to imagine, but okay. Either way, now clearly Vicky is too analytical and she can't even
Yeah,
play along in this game with me. But
I have to do maths.
companies are spending $8 million for a 30-second advert to be put
Wow.
in the Super Bowl ad. Now, Super Bowl, for those of us who are not in America, because I suspect, I don't even suspect, I believe Super Bowl is only played in America, but
Yeah.
Americans understand what Super Bowl is, but the whole context is we're talking about the marketing bit. So Super Bowl companies are paying $8 million for a 30-second ad in the Super Bowl commercials. Now Super Bowl is like if you had rugby and people are allowed to wear protective gear. So Super Bowl is like rugby for people who are allowed to wear gear. Now, this year we have 50 companies that are lined up to do commercials on the Super Bowl period. It's like a 2 hour long game, but 50 companies are fighting to get a slot into that into that space. Now, why you wonder why are people campaigning for $8 million? Now, Super Bowl is the world's most, apart from the World Cup, of course, which happens every 4 years. Super Bowl is the world's most broadcasted event, or the world's biggest broadcasting event in terms of viewership. Why? Because every year, an average of 129 million people tune in to watch the Super Bowl event. Now, tuning in means they go to their tellies. Of course, it's still not yet being streamed. It is a broadcast, so they go to their channels. They stream 2 hours of that content live, not pre-recorded or after the event. The live. So you have 120 million people potentially who are able to stream. Large majority of those people are in the US. Some of them are in the Europe, the Americans out of Europe, and even some people who just love those spaces. So companies are spending this year alone $8 million per commercial, and it's a 30-second commercial. If you want to do a minute, then you double that, or you might even end up doing more because it's now become a bidding war. Companies want to be there, and this is where sometimes I have issues with marketing because Super Bowl has been there since the 1980s, but this bit about commercials being a huge thing really took a hit or really started taking off in the 2000s. If you've heard about this, if you're a marketer and you do a lot of research about global events, you will be told that there was this advert that Apple did that was so dramatic that people are like, wow, it really put their brand on the map, and it was actually a Super Bowl commercial. So that advert, then people started, and then of course companies like car manufacturers also started doing a lot of fun stuff in that space. And now with advent of social media, now they're getting double exposure because people find a good ad and then they talk about it for like a whole week or a whole month. So companies over the years, like last year now, a lot of companies that were being talked about were the ones that the previous year, the companies that were being talked about were the ones that had what are they called? They were the ones that had in 2023, the company that had big celebrities were the ones being talked about. Now last year the companies that were the most creative and that were quote unquote goofy. Like they were light ads. They didn't it was a mix of celebrities and no celebrities. So they were being talked about on TikTok and on YouTube. There are even pages on YouTube that just discuss Super Bowl ads. That is how fun those things are. And personally, I have been consuming Super Bowl ads since I think late 2020s. I discovered because I am a market and I love there is nothing I love more than creativity in terms of ads. In fact, if I didn't have to work, I would just be part of the marketing team that does ads because those the creativity in those ads has been quite mind-boggling. And I especially love the commercials done by car manufacturers. They are usually goofy and sometimes they're just light. And then of course you add celebrities, it has the reach. Now last year companies were paying 7 million for a Super Bowl ad. This year because of the and last year they did around 45 companies advertise. This year 50 companies are advertising and they're paying 8 million for a 30-second ad. So if you see an ad that is 1 minute long, it is likely going to be to have been paid to have paid more. Now of course then another is my view of why of course they have the 120 million people who are streaming, but then they with social media and people now adverts have become like content. So previously you would see an ad and you're like, this is just an ad. These days you see an ad and if it's fun enough, I'll do a YouTube video and say these were the top 50 ads maybe in the Super Bowl commercial. And maybe we shall do another one next week, but one after the Super Bowl airs, and we shall give you maybe our top 10 Super Bowl commercials. But it's just something that I think if you're a marketer, you ought to be there because it is the biggest marketing event. Paying 8 million shillings per ad, $8 million per ad is quite something. The next big event is the World Cup, which has usually around 5 billion. Remember, also Super Bowl is one event, 120 million. World Cup is a whole month event, and total combined viewership is usually 5 billion. So that's also another big marketing event. Or another, you might want to study if you're a marketer. You might want to study the companies that advertise, how they advertise, and what exactly they get from those visibility. So that's why I was asking Vicky how much she'd be willing to pay for brand visibility because it's an ad. You're not engaging with customers and whatnot. But what you see, and what I would urge even local companies for this year, again, I don't know why Vicky today I'm keeping digressing. This year, last week, um, KCB, the biggest event in Kenya in the coming month will be the Safari Rally. KCB signed a partnership of around 209 million shillings to be the brand, the biggest sponsor for or the key sponsor for the
Super
Safari
Rally.
for the Safari Rally. Now out of that, I believe if I get my figures right, around 80 million is going to be spent on advertising, and then around 23 million will be spent on driver awards, and then the other I can't remember 100 million on events and merchandise and whatnot. So if you're a marketer or if you aspire to be this place and you want to stand out, you might want to understand and do a study about the KCB brand experience and what they're doing. They've already started those campaigns and maybe you might be seeing them and how then that works in terms of KCB. Largely, these advertising events these large events are usually a brand event and they are not necessarily like companies do it for brand visibility, not necessarily for conversions because nobody's going to purchase or to open a loan account with KCB just because they have seen them sponsor on the
Yeah.
Safari Rally. But brand visibility, people now KCB is a big brand and they associate the brand with that item. So every time you go to the Safari Rally, maybe you might want to buy KCB merchandise. They even sell merchandise, by the way. But back to the Super Bowl, companies are spending 50 million. 50 companies are spending 8 million to pay for the Super Bowl ads, and I view it as an evolution because previously you just do an ad on the TV. These days, companies are even pre-releasing the ads before they go. They're like, "This is our Super Bowl ad," and then they let it. Uh, Percolate in the social media space. People talk about it. They even get have what are they called? The events where people now even bash their campaign whether it was good or bad, and then it's the whole. It now allows the brand to be in the viewership of people through social media over probably a whole month as opposed to just one ad. So in my view, it's something good. And of course, if you're a digital marketing firm at a company, then you're also able to earn from that if you're creative enough. But yes, Vic.
Yeah, the Super Bowl adverts. I've seen
Mm,
them. They're very creative. I
mm,
like them. And yeah, as marketers, we need to check through to see what we can learn from and how we can better even our adverts and even our content generally. But now,
mm,
I just wanted to mention something. As you were talking, I was remembering and I was just reflecting. Uh, if you look at, I know there we have the Gen Zs who might not relate with this, but millennials, when a song, when you're talking about the people in the creative industry, there was a time where you get a song uh, that will be released, and then that song will be so good and it will even run 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line. We are still remembering that song. We are so happy. Like, there is no other song that can beat this.
mm,
It will go to radio stations and TVs and that time, even in fact, YouTube was not very known, or it was not very common. It
big.
was there, but people were not aware of it. Actually, YouTube rose its traffic after COVID. So
Mm,
there was so much that you will be able to do it offline on the TVs and the traditional marketing. So content will stay for long. That is the whole point I'm trying to make. But right now,
mm,
when you create any content, however good it is, it has its expiry date. There's a way the expiry date has been shortened. Even if it was so good, like now, that's why we have so many viral moments, because people are
yeah.
becoming so creative by the day, and then the content is being created, something else is coming up. People are using the same content to be able to create their own content, so their own content performs better than the original content. So there's so
And
much
TikTok is a
competition.
culprit for that.
Yeah, yeah. So as much as the Super Bowl is good and even and it's a one-off, as much as it's a good one, as businesses, our focus is also to find ways of how we can generate more of that content to people's minds and faces, because people are seeing so much content on the social media space. They tend, as much as it was so nice, they tend to see more, and it's very easy for
Mm.
them to forget. Like, you can't do one and stay like that. You have to continue creating more creative content to be able to get more engagement and, of course, drive sales to your business. Yeah.
That's true, and I suspect that's why personally in my view, I think any company that's spending 8 million probably has 100 million marketing budget. Like the only justification for spending that much money on a 30-second commercial. Remember, that is just you bidding for the commercial. You spent another probably 2M to do the commercial itself. So it is because most of these commercials also, because you're spending 8 million, people also want to get the best. That means you're working with some of the most expensive celebrities, and also you're working for some of the biggest media companies. So you're probably spending 5 million to just get that a 30-second ad. And then now the ad so all in, you probably are spending almost, if it's not it's 12 million, you're probably spending 12 to 15 million just to get a 30-second ad placed. And then, like you said, after it's done, after the Super Bowl airs, if it didn't resonate with most people, it's done.
Yeah.
Probably even by the time, because remember, commercials are aired at the beginning, middle, and the end. So probably even the time your commercial was airing, some people are going to get their snack, going for a bathroom break,
Yeah.
and and you maybe out of the 120 million people, because that's what Super Bowl NFL will tell you, which is like the governing body for Super Bowl. But out of that, chances are 50% of them didn't even see your ad, because
Yeah.
remember, 30-second ads, 50 companies have to fit into the 15-minute maybe break, and then maybe the first 10 minutes. So you have a lot of those that 120 million is also maybe an exaggerated number, because not everybody is seeing. And the way we might talk about it in future, how people have become disinsensitive about ads, that when they see it, they just switch off. So you
Yeah.
see an ad, you go to your phone and do social media. It's
Yeah.
like your time
Just
for
wait.
taking a break. So unless the ad is so good enough that now it goes and gets a life of its own in the social media spaces, then 8 million is, into my view, is a lot of money. And that's why, again, back to your point about life, shelf life of viral moments has been shortened. Like these days, any day can people are being made famous every day.
Yeah.
It is so hard even to keep track of the influencers.
Get
Like
a
you said,
million
those
views today, tomorrow you're
you are
gone.
a,
You're
you are an influencer,
yeah.
and like you said, when you would know a song and everybody would know that song. These days you can find a song has 5 million views, but you've never heard of that song. You've even never heard of anybody around you singing that song, but that guy is considered a
Yeah, there
influencer.
was even you see when TikTok was going to be banned, you will
Mm,
go to TikTok and there was that viral moment that there was a video that would go on stating that
mm,
since TikTok is going to be shut down within a few
mm.
days, you can as well follow me. I follow, we support each other, we become
Yes,
influencers. So there are people who grew their followers just by
yes,
that, and then
yeah, yeah.
they got even more engagement. So and then you become useless after that if you're not creating content.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, before you finish that, and I would also like to point out that what what companies, remember, brands follow the money, and when there is money and opportunity, when there is opportunity, a lot of money flows into that space. So Netflix is also betting big on the sports events. So last year Netflix did a fight between Mike Tyson and a guy called, I think, Jake Paul. That event, while Netflix was also bashed because the quality was down. I think the it's an online streamed event. It is easier to do a broadcast than do
Yeah.
people imagine that an on a broadcast, a stream event, like what we're doing. People are imagining that if we do this thing live, it is easier than if we're doing a broadcast live. But what the infrastructure that is around the broadcast is a bit different from what is in the streaming. So
Yeah.
Netflix did an event for a fighting match between Mike Tyson and a guy called Jake Paul. Now that event was so streamed, I think almost 90 to 100 million people tuned into that event. That Netflix was not able to support all those people. There was a bit, it was lagging, and then there was a bit, it went down. So the experience for most people was bad. But my point is, they failed or they didn't have a good event. They're going to do better. They say they're going to prepare more. They're going to have better support in terms of the servers and have all the bandwidth they need to ensure that event any future events is streamed live. But what I'm saying is now, right now, Super Bowl has grown, like I told you, from 20 to 2024, and especially blew in 2020 when they started using celebrities, and people are at home. So people were talking about anything. And the companies are very funny. They see people talking about another brand, they get jealous. They're like, I also want to be a marketing CMO, chief marketing officer. Is like, why did they talk about that alcohol company or that car company? And we are same in the same. And so now they go heavy. And Super Bowl is like, bring us the money. But like I said, what is likely to happen is now big companies like Netflix, Disney, HBO, and even other sporting events like the NBA and the baseball and football. What they're now seeing is, wow, we can also maximize our ability to earn from these events. Now, what will happen is more sporting events will now start being prepared because that is a money making opportunity. But also, it means the choice for advertisers will be broader. So I suspect it will get harder to justify an 8 million ad spend when I have five global events in a year. So like last year, Super Bowl used to have only one event, and then the next big event would be World Cup. Now you have the Super Bowl events. You have now Netflix live events. Now you're going to also have the basketball events are also going to start partnering with these marketing companies. Now we have women football and women events. So the events are getting more, and that means also even advertising is getting more and more niche. You have to advertise to appeal to women. You can't put maybe an advert for streaming in a women's football event. You can't put maybe an advert for men's shaving. So then it also means, then because of the audience is lower, then it also means you can't pay 8 million because 8 million is reaching everyone. And then now demographics, then Netflix is like, we can even track for you how many people actually paused to watch your content. How so then it adds more value. Then they are forced to show exactly how many people actually were watching by the time I was being aired. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's that.